Some places exist outside of time, hidden in the cracks of reality, appearing only when the right person stumbles into their path. I never believed in such things. Not really. But that changed on a cold October night when I found myself wandering the streets alone, caught between exhaustion and an unshakable curiosity that led me somewhere I should have never gone. It started in the most ordinary way. I had been out with friends at our usual bar downtown. The night had been unremarkable. Cheap drinks, loud music, half-hearted conversations that faded the moment they were spoken. Around 11:30 p.m., I decided to call it a night. I wasn't drunk, just tired, and the idea of my warm bed was far more appealing than another hour of shouting over a bass-heavy playlist. I said my goodbyes and stepped outside into the chilly air. But as I walked towards my apartment, something felt wrong. The streets were too quiet. Normally at this hour, the city still buzzed with late-night wanderers, honking taxis, and the occasional shout from a bar fight spilling onto the sidewalk. But tonight there was nothing. Just the distant hum of streetlights and the soft whisper of the wind. The silence pressed against my ears like cotton, muffling the world around me. Then I saw it. At the end of a narrow alleyway I had never noticed before, a neon sign flickered against the darkness. The Midnight Tavern. I stopped in my tracks. I had walked this street hundreds of times. There had never been a bar here, never. And yet, there it was, glowing faintly in the dim alley, as if it had always been there, waiting for someone to notice. I should have walked away. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around and go home. But something about that sign, about the way it pulsed in the dark, drew me forward. My feet moved before my mind could protest, and soon I was standing in front of a heavy wooden door. I hesitated, my fingers grazing the cold brass handle. Then, with a deep breath, I pushed it open. The air inside was thick with the scent of aged wood, smoke, and something faintly sweet, like honey left out in the sun too long. The place looked like an old-fashioned speakeasy, with dark leather booths, low-hanging chandeliers, and a long bar stretching across the room. The walls were lined with ornate mirrors, each one slightly warped, distorting the reflections just enough to make them unsettling. But the strangest thing wasn't the decor, it was the people. They sat in perfect stillness, murmuring to themselves in low, rhythmic whispers. No laughter, no clinking glasses, no music. Just a soft, droning hum that crawled beneath my skin. Behind the bar stood a man in a crisp black suit, his posture unnervingly stiff. His face was too smooth, too perfect, as if someone had sculpted it from wax. His eyes met mine, and a slow, deliberate smile stretched across his face. "Welcome," he said, his voice low and velvety. "You're just in time." "In time for what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached beneath the counter and produced a small glass filled with a dark red liquid. He slid it toward me with an unsettling grace. I hadn't ordered anything. I should have walked out right then and there. But my body betrayed me. My fingers wrapped around the glass, and before I could think, I lifted it to my lips and took a sip. The moment the liquid touched my tongue, the world shifted. I wasn't in the bar anymore. I was standing on a road that stretched endlessly in both directions, surrounded by a sky with no stars. The air was thick, heavy, pressing down on my lungs. I tried to move, but my feet were rooted to the ground. Then I felt it, a presence. Something was behind me, breathing against my neck. I turned. There was a face, inches from mine, smiling, watching. And then I was back in the bar. The bartender was still smiling, but now the other patrons had stopped whispering. They were staring at me. Their eyes were too dark, their smiles too wide. "You shouldn't have done that," the bartender murmured. Panic seized me. I pushed myself off the bar stool, stumbling backward. The room seemed to stretch, the walls expanding, twisting, shifting. The door I had entered through was suddenly at the far end of an impossibly long hallway. And something was coming for me. I could feel it, an invisible force pressing closer, reaching for me. My heart pounded as I ran, my breath ragged. My footsteps echoed in a way that didn't make sense, as if they were coming from someone else's feet. I didn't dare look back. I lunged for the door, shoving it open with all my strength, and fell onto the pavement outside. The street was empty. The alley was gone. The neon sign had vanished. I scrambled to my feet, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. When I checked the screen, my blood turned to ice. It was 4:07 a.m. 4 hours had passed, but I had only been inside for a few minutes. I don't know what that place was. I don't know what I drank or what I saw. But sometimes when I walk the city streets at night, I catch glimpses of something in the corner of my eye. A flicker of neon in a place it doesn't belong. And sometimes, just for a moment, I hear whispers. The Midnight Tavern is still out there, waiting,